What's going on YouTube? Cloverbell here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be doing some updates to our Regulation H tier list. So the tier list that you see on your screen is a previous one that we made way back in the later parts of September. Okay, and I think it was September, if I look at my channel real quick, I think it was September 17th that we made this one. So it's been a while since the last one, right? And that's partly my fault. I should have done this a little bit earlier, like in the later parts of October, maybe like October 20 something, because we've had a lot more development since late September. So that's on me, guys. Okay, but you know, we just had a regional finish this past weekend, and there's still a few more coming up, right? And you know, again, like I said, we're in the halfway point or a little bit past the halfway point in the Regulation H meta. There's still about 2 months left, so now as good of a time as ever to do another update to our Regulation H tier list. We made an early one back in August before the format even started. Then we made an initial one back on September 17th after a couple of regionals passed by, and then more regionals and more tournaments passed by in October. And now here we are, November 5th, trying to do another one here. So just to explain the tiers real quick, again, we have the best of the best, the S tier over here. These are your best options in the format. They control the meta, they define the meta, and hence, you know, best stats, best abilities, whatnot. You'll see these on 9 out of 10 teams. Okay, that this is the S tier. Okay, then the A tier is what we call your strong and consistent options. Very versatile, very splashable. You can use them on a lot of different teams. Just overall very good in terms of gameplay, stats, abilities. You'll see this on most teams. And again, you know, just the best options to use in competitive Pokemon right now, besides the S tier. All right, then I took the B tier and then I split it up into the high B tier and the low B tier. High B tier, these are just still like very solid options. Okay, you know, maybe not as good as your A tier Pokemon, but still overall very good. Then your low B tier, again, these are still like okay options, but they need a little bit more support to do well versus like the A and B tiers, which can stand alone a little bit better than these low B tier guys. So, you know, hence we call them low B, but again, still very good, but need a little bit more support from another partner on the team to really do their job very, very well. Okay, then down here we have the C tier, which I called the niche tier. Again, this doesn't mean they're bad Pokemon. This means that these Pokemon are really good on only one kind of specific team and can only do one job very well, and outside of that team and outside of that job, you just don't even see them, or they just don't really do that well altogether. Okay, so hence the word niche. And then down here we have, of course, the D tier. Again, don't use these Pokemon. These are Pokemon that are just not that great, right? At least right now within the Regulation H meta. So these are our tiers, okay? And we've had a lot of development since then. Again, it's over a month, right? So September 17th, basically a month and almost a month and a half worth of meta development since then. So we need to really update this and just showcase where we are right now in Regulation H. Okay, so we're gonna do 2 parts. Okay, we're gonna show Pokemon that we think should move up the list since then, and then the second part of the video, we're gonna move Pokemon down the list. So this way we keep things structured and aligned. So this way it doesn't get so messy. Okay, so without further ado, let's start with Pokemon that we think should move up the list. Okay, so things that we think should move up the list. So let's look at the A tier here. Is there anything that can be pushed up to the S tier since then? I see 2 obvious choices right here, right now. And we had them in the high A tier for a reason. And since then, I think we moved both of these guys up here. Sneasler and even the Gambit over here. So I actually want to move it right here. Basically, guys, if you look at the regional results, and if you look at where Sneasler is and where King Gambit is, number 1 and number 2, arguably number 3 technically for the Gambit. You know, we have Rillaboom and Goldengo up there as well. But these guys define the meta right now, okay? They're very good at what they do, especially the Sneasler right now. 50% usage, okay, across the board in multiple regionals, right? And it's not just all about the Dire Claw stuff, okay? Yes, you have Dire Claw, but now you also add the fighting coverage, which was the main selling point originally, right? The close combat into like the steel types running around. But of course, Dire Claw is just so annoying. You know, you get the key sleep turns for 3 turns and then the poison stuff at the same time. Paralysis. Okay, we already know what Dire Claw does. You know, you can use the Focus Sash set. You know, that's been relatively popular, whether it be the Unburden idea or the Poison's Touch. Either way, it's still pretty solid. Then we started to see some other variants in some sets. Now people are playing the Sneasler, with the Male Indeedee, just to have a little bit of control over the terrain against the Rillaboom. And now this is where Psychic Seed comes into play. And now the Sneaslers are running, Dark Terra with the Throat Chop, okay? And this is really good against the ghost types. Again, Dragapult, another Goldango, for example. Very strong there. And then just have Protect over here. So this is like the most popular set right now, in my opinion. But you can still use the Focus Sash set. And also, don't forget about coaching, okay? Sneasler since then has adopted the coaching ideas, with some physical options like next to the Dragonite, next to the Garchomps, and then especially the King Gambits and Rillabooms next to, with the Assault Vests. Okay, this is where Sneasler had some really good value throughout the month of October, right? Just coaching up, all these big time physical hitters, and then they're just doing more damage. They have more bulk physically, and it just made them very difficult to remove and very annoying, right? So Sneasler became an offensive threat, and it became a defensive threat at the same time. Because you had all of these options here. And then, of course, you still got Fake Out here along with the Rillaboom. So you had fast Fake Out user in the Sneasler, which is great because then you can, set up your other options, especially if you had like a Swords Dance King Gambit, right? Fake Out Swords Dance or Rillaboom even, right? Can do the same thing. But Gambit, overall, same thing, just like Sneasler. Also, definitely within the S tier. It's so strong. Again, Sucker Punch Pressure into a lot of different things can just... Even if it's not super effective, a +2 Terra Dark King Gambit with black glasses, it can OHKO a lot of different things, right? Especially if you're just full on adamant. It's so strong. And then of course Kowtow Cleave, really, really good. And then, just it does what it needs to do, okay? There is the other type of niche idea where you can do like Terra Flying Gambit or even like Terra Fairy King Gambit, for the resisted fighting weakness, of course. That's understandable. And there has been some success with those. I think those are a little bit better with the Assault Vests, right? Where you're going for Iron Head, with the steel coverage. And, that makes sense. It's still fine. But, and then as a result, the Rillabooms have been forced to go, Miracle Seeds or even the Bullet Seed idea with the loaded dice. Still okay. But overall, I think these two merit an increase into the S tier, for sure. Okay? And of course, you still have Anti-Intimidate, against the Incineroars, which is still up there in usage, in my opinion, right? Floating around the 25-27 percentile. That's still a good Pokemon that, again, you want to have something against, and the Defiant does very well here, right? And if they have low kick, then the Incineroars are in for it. You're almost forcing them to tear a little bit into the Ghost type, and that's not great in the grand scheme of things if you have to force that immediately turn 1, right? Okay, so that being said, is there anything else here that we can crank up into the S tier? No, I don't think so. I think these guys, especially Rillaboom and Goldango, we'll talk more about them in a second, but I think this is good for your S tier, these three. All right, so that being said, anything down here in the B+ tier, can we push any of these guys up into the S tier or the A tier? Garchomp, still very good. And again, for a while, this was... part of the big four up here. I think we can still put Garchomp up here. I know the last regional, it took a little bit of a dip, but it was just outside the top 12, okay? And it's still great. Like, again, ground coverage, very good right now, especially when you have King Gambit and Goldango in the format, and Incineroar, and the Archeladon, and the Sneasler. All of these are weak to ground, okay? Ground coverage is very important, along with fighting coverage. So, just having that fast Earthquake, that fast Stomping Tantrum with the Life Orb support, I think is very good. And, Garchomp being a key piece, with the Dragonite over here, with the Sneasler, just for the coaching stuff. And then, you have stuff like the Ninetales here with the Incineroar. Okay, this was like your premier double Dragon Core team, right? And then some flex slot here, like maybe a Magmar, for example. This was another one of those balanced Sneasler teams that you can consider, right? So that being said, I do think we can bump up Garchomp up here. Kamo, I think, also stays right here, but more on Kamo in a later part of the video. The Indeedee. So where can we leave this version of the Indeedee here? Yeah, I think so. I think this stays exactly where it needs to do. Again, terrain control, very important. But I think B+ is where we want it here. Grim Snarl. Okay, there has been some good Grim Snarl usage. I think this is okay. Like, again, like high B tier is all right. You know, screen support, very good. Parting shot is annoying. Again, now people are starting to also explore the option with Misty Terrain, right? So let me just put Grimstar here on the screen for a second. So again, the whole idea with Prankster Misty Terrain is now you know, reduce damage against the dragon types onto your team, but also you stop the annoying shenanigans from Sneasler, right? So people have been exploring that and has had some success. At the same time, you know, it's really good on those Arcellid and Rain teams, and just overall make sure your entire team bulky. You can stall out Tailwinds and Trick Room turns. Very good Pokemon. I think it stays exactly where it needs to stay. Overall, the rest of these guys, can I bump any of these into the A tier? No, none of these. Maybe, do we bump No, I think Typhlosion stays exactly where it needs to stay. Okay, and then the rest of these guys. Okay, Baxcalibur. Is Baxcalibur worthy of the other big four? Okay, is it on par with, you know, Chomp, Dragapult, and Dragonite, and maybe even Arcellid? You know what? It started rising, you know, towards the later parts of October, especially with the loaded dice set and the scale shot idea. And we knew Baxcalibur would rise a little bit more, right? And the question now is this worthy of the A tier slot? I'm gonna say it's like one of the top of the high B tier. I don't want to put it in that high A tier just yet. Like that key Baxcalibur team with the solo Dondozo on the board, that's very good. Okay, I think Baxcalibur is a very good Pokemon. You know, don't get me wrong, and you know, just having ice coverage overall, good into Amoonguss, good into Rillaboom, the other dragons for that matter. Like we said, you can break Sash, especially with the Icicle Spear for, you know, of course with the loaded dice set. Yes, and then you have priority move, right? You have Ice Shard here. That's really good. And like we said, Scale Shot. So now you can start outspeeding things. And then you just have Protect over here. So like this with Kingambit, and then you add Sneasler here. This was really good. Then you had the solo Dondozo here. And then you had Rillaboom over here, right? This was the premier Sneasler balance team with Baxcalibur overall. And then this one had the Volcarona idea or the Magmar stuff. So depending on how you view it. But this was it, right? So I still think it's good. I maybe the low A tier, we can bump it up maybe a little bit later, but I think high B tier is exactly where I want to keep it right now. All right, down here. Okay, the low B tier, can we push anything up? I think there has been a little bit more usage now as of late with the Hisuian Arcanine, but I think in the low B tier option is exactly where we want it. Delphox though has impressed a little bit more since September 17th. I think the fast mode, you know, with the Indeedis and, you know, the Murkrow, Whimsicott, Tailwind stuff, fast expanding force with Terra Fighting Terra Blast has been really good. And again, one of the main selling points for the Delphox is that speed tier that it has. Again, if you look at it, the one thing that it can do is that 104 speed outspeeds Garchomp, and that means you have control with terrain with your expanding force first over the Garchomp, right? So I think that's important, the fact that you can outspeed it. So, you know, again, I'm going to bump it up. I think that's a worthy assumption there. And it just does so much damage against the steel types and Rillaboom for that matter. I think high B tier is appropriate for the Delphox here. Okay, after that, any of these guys, can we bump up? No, I think we keep everything here. The Ceruledge has been good, but again, I still think it needs a little bit more support. But overall, I think it's... Oh, how about this one? Yeah, you know what? I think we can bump up the mailing DD now. It's definitely not low B tier now. I think we're at the point where this thing is getting a lot more usage, you know, especially with the Sneasler idea. Again, just the fast expanding force, right? Let me put mailing DD on the board here, okay? You know, this is used a little bit more now than the female version, believe it or not. It's funny how it works, right? Nobody was even using this thing for the most part of Scarlet and Violet, or even like Sword and Shield, but now all of a sudden it's doing very well. So like expanding force with this, the Delphox, and then the Sneasler. This is your size spam annoying trio, right? You know, this is another kind of trio that you can always build around. And then you have something like the Murkrow or the Whimsicott here, and this is your core four. This is like your premier hyper offense team. Okay, so you know, fast expanding force. Then you have Imprison, and then you have Trick Room here. So you can shut down, you know, the opposing hard Trick Room teams And then, of course, you have Terra Blast with Terra Fighting. This is good at sniping, you know, the King Gambits, right? That was the whole selling point behind this. This is also why Delphox also ran that set for a while with the Terra, you know, the Life Orb set with the Terra Blast, Terra Fighting at the same time too. You know, again, Gambit can pressure this thing. You know, if it just tears that, if it's Steel type, and then it just KOs it. But now, if you have the Terra Blast, Terra Fighting with the Life Orb, then you can potentially just one-shot it, right? So I like that a lot. And just overall, like, again, fast expanding force user, look at this. Like, you could go Modest here, all right, and just go this. And then if you have the Choice Scarf set, which is what a lot of the Indeedis are doing now, okay, is they're switching out the Scarf, and I'm sorry, they're switching out the Focus Sash, and they're adding the Scarf set. And, you know, this speed tier, that already outspeeds Dragapult and more. All you really needed was 144. Now you add and go to 147. So you start to speed creep them, and now you don't even need Tailwind on your anymore, right? You don't have to rely on it. Now with the Scarf, you can just outspeed Pult anyway, and then basically you outspeed the entire format with this Scarf too. So that's really nice. And then you can still go Timid anyway if you want to, you know, outspeed the Mirror potentially. But anyway, you know, again, the Scarf has been a more recent development. So lots of different ways to play it. Whether you have the Sash or the Scarf, I think bumping it up now into the A tier is appropriate. Okay, after that, the Flamigo here, I think outside of those Trick Room teams, I think it stays exactly where it needs to stay. Okay, all right, now C tier. Is there anything here that we can bump up into the B tier or the A tier? I don't think we can shoot anything up into the S tier from the C tier here. So let's take a look at some of these options here. Again, like we mentioned before, they can do their job very well. You can win a tournament with some of these guys, okay, but they're only really strong on one particular team. Okay, first of all, I already see one that I can bump up. Magmar is so good, man. Like, I want to bump this up, but I'm thinking, where do I want to put it? I think it's definitely better than low B. I think we can bump this up almost in, not the A tier. I think we can put this in the high B tier. Okay, I think Magmar is very solid. You know, just it does what it's supposed to do, just like some of these other support options. The same. Oh yeah, if we had Electabuzz in here, yeah, I think we can definitely put them. They're both in the same category. I think high B tier is appropriate for Magmar. Again, just a bulky redirector. If you look at the stats, right? Let me just put Magmar on the board here. Like, you have Overheat and we have Follow Me. Like, don't underestimate the damage of Overheat. Even if you don't put as much damage or as much EVs into your special attack stat, like, this is still a base 100 Pokemon over here. Overheat is still pretty good. You still get access to Will-O-Wisp, obviously, right? And then you can also still have access to Clear Smog. So if you don't have an Amoonguss on your team, or if you don't have a Haze user like a Murkrow or a Primarina, you can still opt for the Clear Smog on the Magmar, and that has had success at the high regional level, right? So I still like this a lot. And, you know, again, the bulky redirection is the big selling point with Magmar, and you see it a lot on those Sneasler balance teams too. So all the more reason to bump this up there. I think we had to put it out of the niche tier and at least put it here in the high B. I don't think it's quite in the A tier just yet, but I do think high B is correct where we have Magmar. All right, so as we keep exploring here, Greninja, Quaquaval, Sneasler, not Sneasler, Milotic, I think these guys stay exactly where they need to stay. Honestly, I have seen some good Milotic teams. I think low B tier is okay for it. I think it's another worthy option for competitive, you know, competitive the ability, right? So anti-intimidate there. You get Scald, you get Icy Wind, you do get the Coil set, but I think that's a little bit more niche. I think we can at least push it into the low B tier. I'm not angry at Milotic by any means. Toadscruel, again, still good as long as you have the Wheezing, right? I think the Toadscruel is correct here. But, oh, I can't even like move it. You know, all right, I'm just gonna move it up. This is like in no particular order, by the way, but I still think it's still like rather niche along with the Wheezing here. I think that's appropriate here, right? Same thing with Sableye, same thing with the other Wheezing. Again, they're relatively niche. Same with the Slacking. Like, if you're gonna put these two together, I think they have to stay in the niche tier. Gardevoir, same thing. Like Gardevoir, Garchomp, very good next to the other, but again, outside of those Garchomp Tailwind teams, you're not really gonna see it. Okay, how about this? The Jumpluff is okay as long as you hit everything. Like, we have, like, again, it just got second place in a regional, did very well in the global challenge. That team that from Marco's team that we also featured on the channel, by the way, a few days ago. Again, with the Porygon, the Torkoal stuff, the Eject Pack Torkoal. So if we put Jumpluff here, okay, then we put the Torkoal, and then we have the Charizard, right? This was like the fast mode for the squad. Then you had the Porygon over here as the other option here. Again, so like, I'm just going to talk about these four because I'm still only talking about Jumpluff. Fast mode of the team, right? So you've got Tailwind, right? You have Rage Powder, good support moves. You have Sleep Powder, you just got to hit it, okay? Jumpluff looking pretty good here, as long as you can hit these moves, right? So, just be aware of course, the risk, but again, it's so rewarding because, speed control and status infliction and redirection, that's a hard combination to beat. And because of that, I think it's low B tier for sure. Like, you do need Torkoal at the end of the day, right? Which is why I had it there in the niche tier, okay? Because outside of that team, you're not going to really see Jumpluff. So I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt here, but I still think it should remain in the niche tier, but I can't argue with the results. I'm going to keep it in the low B tier for now. And that's going to also be the same thing for Charizard here. I think we've had and seen a couple of, not just one Charizard team, a few Charizard teams do well in recent regional play. We saw it in Louisville. We saw it in Dortmund. Now we even see it here in Gdansk, right? So Zard with that Choice Specs Dragon Pulse set does so much damage in the sun, and and that's kind of what you have to play with Charizard right now. I think it does need that choice item to really do the job here. Otherwise, it just gets outsped and gets KO'd by a lot of other things. So good, but the Zard does need support here. We did see that one Blastoise team do well, right? Tommy's team, with the water spout stuff with the Shell Smash idea. That's not a new idea, that has been done before. But nobody ever really took it and did well in the regional level, but we finally did see it there. I think James Beck just featured that team on his video yesterday. Not his video, his channel yesterday. So go ahead and grab that rental if you haven't done so already. But that being said, very niche. I think outside of that, that's really the only thing you can do with it. Okay, I can put Metagross up here. Okay, we did a whole video on Metagross, right? And I was using it with the Sneasel balance team, and I almost made that team into a rental because Metagross was actually not that bad, okay? And it just needed the right support options here. Okay, let me put Sneasel back on the board here. Okay, Metagross with the Assault Vest, okay? Look at this bulk, okay? 130 defense, already 90 spin up. 90 spin up is already really good. Now you add the Assault Vest, okay? So what's the selling point with Metagross over something like Kingambit? I think Kingambit overall just outclasses it, but there are some things that Metagross can do that Gambit cannot do. First of all, you have Psychic Fangs. Okay, you can snipe Amoonguss, you can snipe Terra Poison ideas, you can break Ninetales screens. That's very good. You also get Stomping Tantrum as a tech move that Gambit can't have, and that's great overall. You have that ground coverage, like we said, against other steel types, other ground types, not ground types, fire types. Okay, then you get Heavy Slam. Okay, that's going to do a lot of damage. And then, of course, you get your own Bullet Punch priority move. It's a lot harder to play around Bullet Punch than Sucker Punch, right? Sucker Punch, you could just not click an attack move, right? And then it fails. But Bullet Punch, you can't do that, right? This will always hit you unless you have Denial, like Ferrigraph or Psychic Terrain. And then you add the coaching idea from the Sneasel. And now, all of a sudden, Metagross becomes very, very hard to kill, okay? And when I was using that team, I got to like, on one of the accounts, I got to like 1500 on Showdown. It was really, really good. Okay, so I think we can definitely bump this up here in the low B category, in my opinion. Okay, who else can we bump up here? I do think, yeah, no, I think these are still like relatively niche. Again, you get the Prankster stuff, the Weather Control, the Tailwind. Okay, sure. Outside of that, you're not gonna really see it. Crocodile, again, same thing. I think we keep that in the niche tier. Anything else that okay, yeah, I get the Blaziken. I'm thinking about it again. We did see some results with it. Is that enough to put it past the niche tier? Nah, I'm gonna keep it in the niche tier. I think again, the coaching stuff is good, but I still think it needs a little bit of help. Okay, you can always protect turn one and outspeed everything afterwards, but It's tough. I can see it going into the B tier. I'm not gonna lie. I can totally see it since then. I'm just not. Fighting coverage is good. So is the fire typing. You know what? I'm gonna put it up. I'm gonna put it up. If I'm gonna put up Jump Pluff and Zard and my loading, I'm gonna put up Blazing. I think you know, again, it does offer some tools. Okay, again, it's another coaching idea, and you know, it's good strong fighting coverage. I'm gonna move it up there, and you get built-in speed control with the speed boost, right? So yeah, I have seen some good success with it. I think low B is okay, but again, you can make the argument to keep it into the low C tier for sure. All right, outside of these stuff. Drift Blim is still pretty niche with the Mail-in DD stuff, although it's still good with Tailwind. I don't know if I can I put this up there? This is another one, right? Where I'm like kind of thinking about it. I'm not so sure. You know, it's, yeah. I don't know. I still think it's still like down here. You know, outside of that role, I don't know. All right. After that, nah, these guys I think are still like relatively. You can even argue like I could put some of these down, which we'll get into in a second. The Polytoad idea is also still relatively niche. Like I can see, again, we did feature this, we did speak about it. It does have some tools that the Pelipper does not have, but I'm keeping it exactly where it needs to stay. Okay. All right, this guy, the Boo Boo Keys. I think we can definitely put this up here. All right, and the question is where is it? Yeah, is it here or here? Like I'm questioning it within the B tier cat. Nah, is it that good? All right, I'm gonna keep it here. I think the screens idea is still pretty good from the Klefki, but I still think, you know, niche. Nah, I'm gonna keep it in the niche. You know, it's a tough one, but I'm gonna still keep it down here. The screens idea is good. Okay, you do have some weather control, not bad. You know, we saw this with our Cullinan, right? If you're wondering what the team was, like, this was the squad. Like, you had Mousehold, okay, you had the Boo Boo Keys, the Klefki, where are you? Okay, and then you had our Cullinan, right? And then you had the Mouse Ape. So this was like the main core of the team, not the Mousehold, the Annihilate, right here, okay? Like, I understand this idea, okay? And then you had the Pelipper here. And then there was a +1 that I can't remember off the top of my head. Like, I understand the screen support. This also still gets Misty Trade, right? So that's the other interesting selling point. So, you know, am I ready to put this in the low B tier? I'm gonna still keep it in the niche tier. I think still, I need to see a little bit more outside of that team. You know, because outside of that Arkelid Rain team, where else am I seeing Klefki? I don't really see it. After that, oh, the Vivian. Oh, man. How did we forget this guy? Okay. I think the Vivian got to be up here. I don't think I can put it in the A tier. I think, you know, high B tier is correct with some of these guys. You know, Rage Powder and Tailwind is quite the combo. And we have seen this on those P2 balance teams, right? So, you know, you had the Vivian. Okay. Then you had the Porygon. All right. Then you had the Incineroar, the Ursaluna, the Goldango. Okay, and then a +1, you know, whatever you wanted it to be, right? Something else. But again, Rage Powder, right? This was really good. You had Tailwind support. Then you had Sleep Powder, right? And then, of course, the Hurricane idea. Like, you didn't have all of these. You did have Protect, you know, still. And then Compound Eyes just made this a whole lot easier with the Sash. But Bug Flying is a good typing, right? Just like Yanma and Yanmega, okay? Because the Sneasel is at a disadvantage. And then you put this next to a ground type, like whether it be Ursaluna or a Garchomp for that matter. And you can Earthquake next to it. Okay. And then you can Sleep Powder and redirect and set up the Trick Room. Okay. P2 is weak to fighting types. You can redirect that. Okay. And, you know, you have the fast Sleep Powder. Okay. It's not Spore, but it's still, you know, good enough. Right. So I think Vivian has had good success overall, you know, these last few regionals. I think bumping this up into the high B tier is correct for where it needs to be. All right, after that, yeah, no, I'm leaving some of these guys down here. And in fact, I want to move some of them down, actually, but that's going to be the second part of the video. Okay, is there anything else here that I can bump up into the low B tier or even like in the A tier? No, I think these guys are pretty much the left. Even the Gothitelle, right? Like, again, another one that you're thinking about. Dusclops did win a tournament. But yeah, again, like I said, these Pokemon can win a tournament, but that doesn't mean they're gonna define the meta for you. All right, they're just good at doing that one job relatively well. Greninja, Decidueye, same thing. Like again, decent options on some teams, but outside of their role, nah. Okay. Now let's go into the don't use tier. There's actually a couple of the D tier Pokemon that I want to move up. I think Kilowattrel definitely should move up. Okay. I still think it's pretty niche, but I have seen some success with those Garchomp teams, right? And we did a video on this too, right? Competitive Tailwind user with electric coverage is pretty solid, okay? And it has had some proven results as of late. Some people are starting to use Houndstone on those Tyranitar teams now. I haven't seen so much yet, but I've seen some good results. With the Houndstone again being a Ghost type here and Last Respects user. I think it'll rise even into the low B tier, but it needs a little bit more time. But I want to give it the benefit of the doubt. I don't think it's as bad as the D tier. I think we could definitely bump this up into the C tier now. Since then, okay. Any of these guys that I think we can move up here. The Squawk ability is always an interesting one that you can put up here, but I don't know. I'm not ready to do it just yet. How about any of these guys? That's not Basculation. I was gonna say I put Basculation down here. There's no way. Okay, the Poliwrath, same thing. Again, that fighting coverage. Along with the Swift Swim, we did feature this. Okay, and it did very well at the regional level. And again, if you have fighting coverage, that's gonna give you an advantage. Because there's so much Steel types and Terra Steel running around. And you also get Ice coverage here, which is good against the Dragons. And you still get access to Haze. So, niche tier for sure. Definitely not in the D tier, okay, as we saw previously. Is this the Fire breed? Or is this the Aqua breed? I can't quite tell. Do I have that here? Oh, I have the Fire one here. Interesting. I'm going to trade places. I'm going to say this one goes up here. I think this one, the Aqua breed, comes up actually into low B, and I'm gonna move the Fire one down here, right, along with Gyarados here. So we did see the Aqua breed Tauros a little bit more, and the recent meta development is this, and I talked about this in our regional recap video. If you have Pelipper, okay, and you have Archeladon, you have Weather Control, okay, often you'll see the Basculation come in here as a rain abuser, right? Especially in the late game. How about now you add the Paldean Tauros? And this is what we saw from the region over the weekend, right? You can add this. So now you have Intimidate support, and now you add Wave Crash here. Okay, and you get a fighting type. Okay, just like Poliwrath, water fighting type. Okay, it's not Urshifu, but you do have the same typing, and you still get close combat. And you still get Aqua Jet here, just like Basculation. But now you have Intimidate on your team, okay? And that's pretty cool, in my opinion, okay? And you can put out some offense here. So I don't hate this idea. I still think it's a little niche, but, on those Archeladon main teams, I think we can start to see it a little bit more. Now that we did have success, let's see if people explore it a little bit more. I'm going to put it up into the low B tier. I think it's definitely a little bit better than the niche tier. But we'll have to wait and see if people start to explore more. The egg. Oh, man. Parker Simmons, the Executor. All right, top 4, man. So, again, outside of those Trick Room teams, you're not going to really see it. But, it does that job really well. Like Expanding Force, Sleep Powder, Trick Room, Energy Ball coverage. Very cool Pokemon. But again, really only on those Torkoal Trick Room teams. So I definitely think we can bump it up into the niche tier. It's earned its right. All right, since then, any of these other guys? No. Vape, no. Okay, what about Umbreon? No, we're not in restricted format here. There's a Furret here. Okay, that's not Flutterman, right? I see this image and I think Flutterman, right? Macargo, Scummery. Okay, no. Yeah, no, I think a lot of these are staying. Oh, the Weavile. Hey. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jamie Boyd. All right. So Weavile, what's the selling point here in the niche tiers? So here's what you can do. And I have Archeladon here. Perfect. So I think we can take Pelipper off for a second. So here's what we can do with Weavile. And then we saw this, right? So yes, you get Fake Out. We knew that. But you also get Beat Up, okay? And that's pretty cool with Archeladon, right? right? And then you have ice coverage. You have ice spitter. You can blow up terrain. You remove Rillaboom terrain. You remove the Indeedee terrain. And you have dark coverage into the Indeedee at the same time. And look at this. Let me put this side by side with Sneasler. Okay? You're faster than Sneasler. You have base 125 speed. Sneasler is base 120. That merits some usage to me. Okay? I think that's better than D tier. Okay? We can definitely bump it up. So thank you, Jamie Boyd, for validating Weavile for us. Since then, what else can we move up here? No, I think everything else stays down here. Let's see. Again, we're not gonna completely overreact. No, that's not a Magmar. That's the other one. All right, that's a Electos. All right, Frostlass. Oh, the Gliscor. Yes, again another one where we covered it. The anti-Sneasler. A lot of you guys love that video. That thing almost has like 5,000 views. I did not expect Gliscor to give me almost 5,000 views on the channel, but the anti-Sneasler, right, as we called it, quote unquote. Some people have started to explore it a little bit more. Again, the fighting coverage, and then again, poison resist too, especially if you have poison heal for that matter. And you know, you do have earthquake coverage. Okay, so again, ground coverage is pretty cool. And at the same time, you know, again, your attack stat is not that good. So sometimes you do need the choice band set, like we showed in that video, or you do need if you're gonna go the toxic orb poison heal set, I think you do need the Swords Dance because 95 base attack is just not that great. So you do have good defense, which is cool. Your Spadef needs a little bit of work, but you can always EV to, you know, give it a little bit more oomph, right? But again, as a little tech choice against Sneasler, it's not bad. So definitely we can pump that up there. It's funny how we can find some stuff in the D tier that we can already move up. But again, this was done in like late September. So, you know, it's understandable that we can now find some of these Pokemon because people have started to explore it. All right. Oh, there was Cryonicle, right? Another one. Haze support, Icy Wind. You know, we did see that in day 2 of a regional, so that was pretty cool. I think that was a little bit of some interest there. Some people are starting to use this guy, the Glaceon, a little bit on some of those Ninetales teams. I don't think I've seen any like super good results just yet. I think there was that one team there. Okay, we'll give it some uses here. We'll give it. I don't know. I still think there's some. I think just Ninetales is really good. All right. After that, Golurk. Okay, Passimian, Duraludon, right? A Violet. No, don't use it. Flapple. There's a Skull Vent here. Okay. Oh, Toxtricity. Okay, wait. Let me just see if there's anything else here besides him. That's pretty much it. Okay, Toxtricity will be our last one. Okay, into the C tier. As far as like bumping up, right? So, you know, Boom Burst is a thing, right? This is the selling point with Toxtricity, and this is from Jack Clark's team. So shout out to Mr. Clark there. But Toxtricity, you know, next to Indeedee, not just Indeedee, but also the Drifblim, right? So you can go for your Boom Burst, right? So the selling point here is that it's Overdrive and it's Boom Burst, right? So you can do this next to a Ghost type, and you know, obviously you're not going to take damage because it's a normal type move. And then we have seen some play with Garchomp too, right? Where you can Overdrive next to a ground type here, and it has done well. So like you have a Drifblim clicking Tailwind next to a Garchomp that can click Earthquake, right? This is already like a pretty cool team. And then, you know, from here, this is where you add the Gardevoir, right? So now you have this. You have Expanding Force, and, you know, you do have Telepathy, and you can Earthquake next to this. I made this team a little bit for somebody, right? So you can do this. There's a lot of synergy here that you can do with something like this. But again, it's very niche. But at least with the Drifblim, you can do something. So I will bump it at least up into the C tier. All right, so is there anything else here that I missed that I can definitely move up here? I think everything else stays exactly where they need to stay. You know, as far as like moving up, I don't think so. Oh, Mimikyu. How did we miss this? Okay, yeah, this is a big one. Yeah, no, Mimikyu, definitely, definitely we're moving up here. And in fact, I almost want to put it in the high B tier. Is that correct? Am I ready to do that? Yes, I think so. Let me think. Mimikyu, here or here? It's definitely in the B. I don't think it's here in the A. No, I think high, low B. Does that make sense? Like in the upper portion of this? Yeah, I think this is good. So here's what Mimikyu is doing. Listen, you're a fairy type. That means, think about it. We don't really have that many fairy types running around, okay? So Mimikyu here can do a couple things. Fairy type means, you're not going to get hit by those dragon moves, especially Scale Shot, right? And then you still get access to Trick Room, of course. And then you can have this Life Orb set or Mental Herb, and you can do a lot of damage with Play Rough, and you can do Shadow Claw here, and then you can do Shadow Sneak. Okay, so you have some ideas here, right? Especially against ghost types, where you can hit them, and then Play Rough, good against the dragons. You get speed control with Trick Room. You have Disguise over here. So lots of play that you can do with Mimikyu, all right? And then you can even do like that niche curse set. So that's always pretty cool. And then, like I said, you can still do like Mental Herb. Some teams have used this, all right, in the regional level, and we got to feature it on the channel, right? And I think Mimikyu is interesting, okay, but I don't think we can directly put it in that A tier. I think the low B tier is correct. Like, it's good, but and you need a little bit more. The damage sometimes, even with the Life Orb, is still not that great. I still think it needs more, to really push it above it. But I definitely think it should not be in the D tier. Okay, so I think bumping that up there was correct. Let me look through one more time, before I say we're done here with in terms of bumping the stuff up here. I think this is okay with what we want. So yeah, I think we found some hidden gems, guys. All right, I'm not gonna lie, we did find some hidden gems that you can definitely make viable for sure, especially at the big competitive level. Okay, and again, you always want to ask yourself, like, yes, can I make this viable? Yes, but is it worth it? Is there another Pokemon that can do the same job but better, right? And if the answer is yes, then you can't move it. You got to leave it down there, right? So I think we hit everything. All right, that's it. So as far as moving things up, I think we hit what we want. Now we can start moving things down, okay, based on recent play. Oh, by the way, before I forget, before I even start moving things down, actually, the Blood Moon Ursaluna. So this tier list actually did not put the Blood Moon here. And, I've always gotten a couple comments, in my last two tier lists, like, where's Blood Moon? And I've always had to respond. All right, so now we've manually added the Blood Moon. And for a while, it dropped from the meta. But now, with recent development, especially as part of that Doug trio, right? It's funny how I say that. Hold on a second. So here's Doug, Dragonite, Ursaluna, okay, and Goldengo here. Okay, I pun intended Doug trio, right? So DUG, Dragonite, Ursaluna, Goldengo. We're gonna do a whole video on these three because I think it's important that you understand the archetype with these three. This is like a more recent team now that's come about, especially after Lille. But Doug trio is the pun, right? Because trio being there's three Pokemon here, but Doug with the acronym DUG, not the actual Pokemon Doug trio. Okay, so little dad joke there for you. But anyway, so what is this? So Ursaluna Blood Moon, it's starting to rise back up in the meta, especially with this Assault Vest set. And the Vacuum Wave is the tech choice. You still get the other three. You still get Blood Moon, you still get Earth Power, you still get Hyper Voice, right? But now look at, like, again, you can hit all these ghost types. Okay, you have ground coverage against a lot of the options that are ground weak. Goldengo, Sneasler, and Kingambit, they're all ground weak, and they all don't really have the best of special defenses. Especially, it's the weaker of the bulk. So you can hit these things relatively hard, and you can also put the Ursaluna on these Tailwind teams with Whimsicott, right? And if you had the Life Orb set, okay, along with Protect over here, then all the more reason, that this becomes super aggressive, especially with like Typhlosion, Delphox stuff. But, we'll do like a whole video on this idea, with Doug. But it also ran Vacuum Wave here. So this was like a priority move, a priority fighting move for that matter. And you can snipe a lot of Pokemon this way, especially, with a special attacker like a Blood Moon Ursaluna. I think it does a lot of damage. Okay, and they don't even have to be at red health. You can snipe some options if they're like in orange, okay, which is really cool when you think about it, right? So I think we welcome Blood Moon back into the meta for sure. I think it's going to rise a little bit more. And I think where I want to put it, I definitely want to put it almost, yeah, I want to put it right here. Like, I think right now, I think it's here, but in the coming weeks, I think it's going to come right back up here in the A meta, right? So, we'll do one more of these videos, as we get into December for like the final Regulation H tier list. but I think it'll stay right here in the low A tier department for sure. Okay, now we can finally look at things that should move down, but how much do they move down by? So I'm looking at this S tier. That's a big party here. I don't think all of these guys are in the S tier now. Yeah, I was very, here's the thing with Dondozo, okay? First of all, let me just move it down quite a bit here. I think, yeah, I think this is like correct for where it is right now. So, at the time during the middle part of September, Dondozo was pretty rampant, right? You had the idea with Talonflame Goldengo, Dragonite Glamora, and that version of Dondozo was running wild for a good month or so. Then, the haze stuff started happening, the clear smog from the Amoonguses and, the occasional Magmars and the Murkrows. And then you didn't see Dondozo, after that, okay? That people started playing Solo Dozo. So, in actuality, I think what has to happen is this. I think I got to split these up. So I think Solo Dozo is pretty good, okay? Whereas the Tatsugiri itself, I think has to be a tier lower. I hope that makes sense a little bit, right? Because, Dondozo together with Tatsugiri maybe a little bit out of favor, especially now that Dragonite is running Haze, especially that what we saw in the recent development. But Solo Dondozo on those Sneasel balance teams has been very good, and it's been a little bit annoying for that matter. So if I just show you that set real quick, okay, where here's the Dondozo, okay, it's the liquidation, okay, the yawn, the fissure set, right? This is the idea with Dondozo, and then sometimes I have seen the curse set again. Remember the Dusclops team with that Dondozo liquidation body press. Okay, this was pretty good in Trick Room, right? Because you can beef up your attack and beef up your defense. Now your body press starts doing more damage, and now your water attacks are also doing more damage to it. And then you get to outspeed everything in Trick Room because Curse makes you a speed tier slower, right? But this set, yawn pressure is annoying. You have to make a choice. Do I stay in and fall asleep next turn, or do I have to switch out and maybe go get out of position after that? So that's the threat with Dondozo. And just looking at these stats, 150 HP, 100 attack is, it's okay. It's not like great. And then 115 defense is pretty good. So it can stay on the field for a while. And then the Spadef is not that good, but most of the big threats for Dondozo are physical anyway. So it's not really a huge deal for that matter. So, but yeah, I do think Solo Dozo is okay. Whereas Tatsugiri, I think I have to break it up there. Now, both of them together as a duo, I think they go, down here in the low B tier. Okay, and I think that's appropriate. Like we did get to see this type of Dondozo team where you had the Tatsugiri, and then you had the Indeedee, okay, the male Indeedee, and then you had the Sneasel. This Dozo is the best version of Dondozo right now with the Tatsugiri. We saw this in the previous regional. We did a whole video on this floor even before that regional even happened. Okay, it's very aggressive, and it's if you don't prepare for it, you're gonna get clucked pretty quickly. So I do think this floor is solid, but just overall, I think there's more value and usage out of regular Dondozo than with the Tatsugiri. But anyway, we take them out of the S tier. Incineroar. Again, we always respect Incineroar, right? Intimidate, Fake Out Pressure, Parting Shot. Now you can put back Flare Blitz a little bit more because these guys, they don't really like taking fire type attacks, right? So, all the more reason to put Flare Blitz back on Incineroar. But I think right now I think we have to drop it, okay? I think the high A tier is correct. The usage percentage for Incineroar has been actually pretty stable. Floating around the 25, 26, 27 percentile within the regional, and then it's still winning regionals, right? So at that point, yes, you can make the argument it should still be in the S tier, but is it like meta, quote unquote, meta defining? I don't think so. I think we drop it into the A tier. But again, high A tier, of course, just a shade under the S. The Amoonguss, though, has a little bit more value out of the Incineroar. That being said, you did not see Amoonguss in the top 12 in the last regional this past weekend, which is surprising a little bit. But more value from Rillaboom, right? Just having terrain control, Fake Out Pressure is important. And, when you have priority Grassy Glide and Sucker Punch, you don't really care about Trick Room anyway, right? So that being said, can you make the argument to drop the Amoonguss into the A tier? It's tough. I still think it's still quite good on a lot of those Trick Room teams, especially with the P2 balance squads. So all the more reason I'm going to keep it here. I don't think I drop it to the A tier like Incineroar. I still think you can get some good value out of this. There is people, running Misty Terrain on their, their fairy types on like Ninetales. That's trying to hit Sneasel, but that also hits Amoonguss at the same time too. So you have to be aware of that. You could make the argument again to drop into the A, but I'm going to keep it in like the low S tier for sure. Arcaladin Rain won another regional, okay? So, I still think this is, within defining the meta, okay? It's so strong. And now you have different ways to play it since September, okay? It's not just the Assault Vest anymore, okay? People are mixing it up a little bit, and we got to see a lot of that, in recent play. So it's not just stamina anymore. Now people are going the Stalwart idea, so you get to ignore the Amoonguss. And now people are starting to play the Power Herb set, with the the Electro Shot. So now you don't even need Pelipper anymore. Okay, you can get your boost this way. Then you can go for Dragon Pulse. Then you can go with Thunderbolt. Okay, and then now you can have Protect on your Arcaladin. And now you can go Terra Electric. And now you can get more damage out of your, your electric coverage move, which is good, right? So you can start sniping those Primarinas for that matter. That's also why Primarina kind of dipped a lot in usage too. That's part of it. Of course, the main reason being a little bit more Rillaboom usage than before. 33% is a lot. But this also contributes to Primarina's decline in that sense, right? So Thunderbolt, this is really good. And then you can also go for Sturdy too. I have seen this one too. So this is also an interesting way to play it. And at the same time, if you still went with the Assault Vest set, okay, people were still also exploring Snarl. And Snarl Arcaladin is also quite strong too. So don't be, you got to keep your mind open a little bit. And then Body Press was still really good on the stamina sets. And that's still good and strong even right now. So lots of variants from the Arcaladin. And then you got to see it on different types, of course. It's not just like, Pelipper, Basculegion, Amoonguss stuff. That is still like really strong, but you got to see it on some Porygon teams with Ursaluna, right? So we got to see this too. And it was interesting because normally you wouldn't like picture this as a pairing, but it works. And the regional results show that. So, I'm going to keep it in the S tier. I still think it's like a clear defining point within the meta for sure. Okay, after this, I think this is where we have our S tier. I don't think I move anything up here. And that's good because these are like the main key point staples in my opinion right now. Volcarona, at the time in September, I didn't think it was like, you could probably argue that it was not quite the A tier mon yet. But now at this point, it is the A tier. So, I was supposed to probably drop it, but, now it's in a pretty good spot, especially that Covert Cloak Terra Fairy set here. So, you've seen this on the Baxcalibur balance teams. But this is how you stop Sneasler. You have the Covert Cloak, and then now you have the Terra Fairy idea, which a lot of people are exploring. Then you get Rage Powder. Okay? So now you can redirect all those dragon moves, the scale shots. They don't do anything. You can't get your buff anyway. So this is really good. And then you still have Quiver Dance with a Heat Wave type attack there, right? And then this is like your last move here. It could be whatever you want. Usually this was the Terra Blast idea with the Terra Fairy, so now you can start nuking these dragons too. And now you're putting a lot more pressure on some of these guys, okay? And this is also how you can put pressure on Tyranitar too, because Rock Tyranitar was a problem a little bit, right? But now you go Terra Fairy, now you can smash that thing with a Terra Fairy, Terra Blast, forcing it to maybe go for Terra Flying, and that's much easier to deal with than the Rock type Tyranitar, right? So I think this set is really good. Otherwise, you can still go with that leftover set with Quiver Dance, Heat Wave, Giga Drain, okay, and Protect. And then you can still go with something like Terra Grass over here or Terra Dragon, whichever Volcarona you want. Either way, strong win condition. It stays right here in the A without a doubt. Same with Pelipper, just like Arcaladin. I think we do drop Glamora, though. I think A was pretty good with Dondozo at the time, but outside of Dondozo, I don't think you really see it all that much. I still think it needs Tailwind support. I think dropping it right here is okay, right? Just the low B tier. Outside of Dondozo teams, where else are you really seeing it? Dragonite stays right here. I think, now the sets have started to vary. It's not just all about the banded Dragonites anymore. You saw Assault Vest Dragonite for a hot minute, but of course now it's all about the Scale Shot D-Knight with the loaded dice, of course. Not to say that the Assault Vest and the band sets are gone, they're still around, but the Scale Shot just lets you outspeed things, okay? Then you break Sash, of course, and you know, you pick up KOs with extreme speed when things are relatively low. Then you also get access to Ice Spin or Steel to blow up terrain, right? And now you can get Protect on your D-Knight, which is pretty cool. And now you can go multi-skill, take one big attack, live to tell the tale, and you are prone to Intimidate. But that's okay, because if you have the coaching Sneasler, okay, on your side, you can kind of offset that. And now Dragonite can start outspeeding you and start hitting hard because of the coaching Scale Shot combinations. And now what people are starting to do is also start running Haze. This is, again, for your Dondozo checks too. Okay, this is against other coaching setups, other Swords Dance, other Quiver Dance ideas. Haze is a strong move in this format because a lot of Pokemon are strong right now that want to set up. But if you have this move, then it's just a tool that you can always put pressure on with to your opponent, right? So people are starting to do this, as well as the Terra Fairy idea. So this way you don't die to your own dragon typing, right? If something wants to click Draco Meteor or a Scale Shot into you, this is what we're starting to see. And because of that, Dragonite can definitely stay within the A tier. Primarina has fallen off quite a bit. That being said, has it fallen to the point where I can drop it out of the A tier? I want to say right here in the B tier. I don't think I drop it that far. I still think it can work its way back up a little bit, but as far as like where it is right now, there's so much Rillaboom. The Archeladons are now Terra Electric Thunderbolt, and you know the Sneasler's 50% usage with the poison move is menacing, right? It's forcing you to almost always Terra this thing, okay? And there's not as much Dondozo now. So if there's not as much Dondozo, do you really need your Haze Primarina? Not that much. I'd rather get something else in there. And because of that, it dipped in usage and dipped in like utility. And because of that, I'm gonna dip it in the tier list as well. But it's still a very good option. There's still a lot of dragons that are weak to Primarina. And if this thing has, you know, its Throat Spray activated, okay, and it has the +1 and it's doing a lot of damage with Tailwind support, it's gonna pressure you a lot. So I still think high B tier is correct for where it stands. Tyranitar P2 definitely still within A tier. Same thing with Maushold and Annihilape. I think Annihilape stays in the A. I think I can drop Maushold to the high B tier. You haven't really seen these two as much together, and that was also the case, you know, over this past weekend. You saw Annihilape enter the top 12 without even a Maushold. That's because you can play this on its own without the Maushold. Annihilape does not need Maushold to do well, okay? It can do just fine on its own because there's lots of different ways to play it besides bulk up, right? You have the Choice Scarf coaching idea, right, which is rising in popularity even as we speak. So, you know, this is not just Final Gambit, right? This is where you got the full value out of it previously. When you had the Scarf set, you would go Final Gambit. Not anymore. Okay, you still can do this. Okay, I could put Rage Boost there, but this is the idea. You can still coach. You can coach your Sneasler. You can coach your own Dragonite. Okay, and this is fine. This is how you use and then here's the thing: you can't fake this out. You can fake out Sneasler, otherwise you force it to go Terra Ghost. You can't fake out the Annihilape. Okay, and with the Scarf, if you are max speed, okay, let's say you're Jolly, you outspeed Dragon Bolt and more. Okay, so you're actually faster than Sneasler. Okay, and a fast coaching sometimes makes all the difference, as well as the fast Final Gambit just to try and knock out something. Okay, so for that reason, you know, because of the variance in the set, and you know, Defiant is always like really good. Definitely staying within the A tier for the ape over here. All right, the Hydreigon should drop, but it's not going to be as good as like the other four. But at the time it was, you know, in September, people were definitely still high on their hopes with Hydreigon, but I think we can drop it. And not that far though. I think right here is good. I think it's better than these guys. But the Hydreigon can still get the job done on the right team. I still have seen some good top cut results with it. I think one tier under is correct. Talonflame, Whimsicott, these guys are all still good in the A tier. The Farigiraf, I think will drop. I think also one tier below. I still think it's a good mon, but not A tier worthy where it once was in the restricted format, right? Where you had some good variants, good more usage there with the typing, right? It was like your anti-calorics idea, but not needed as much anymore. And one would have to think, yes, it can deny Rillaboom terrain and fake out stuff, but look who's here. You've got Gambit and now Terra Dark Sneasler. That's hard to deal with, okay? And for that reason, you know, you're going to have to drop the Fergat for a little bit. Still a decent mon, though. All right. Since then, what's our A tier looking like now? Dragapult, I think, can still there. Yeah, I feel like this is okay. This is exactly where I think our A tier should be right now. Okay, our B tier over here. All right, let's look at some of these guys. Anything that we feel... Oh, yeah. All right. Clefable can definitely stay here. Like, again, Misty Terrain, Unaware, Clefable, really good against Maushold, Annihilate stuff. Really good against setup in general. Redirects the King Gambit stuff. But the Clefairy, I think... I don't even think we can put it over here. You almost never see this thing anymore. I think C tier is a little bit better now. I think this was much better in the restricted format. But not needed as much. Clefable definitely the better option right now. Unaware is really good, guys. Ninetales here. So, yeah, I actually did not look at it. Can I put this in the A tier? Or should it still stay here in the B tier? It's close. You know, you can make the argument it can be in the A tier. I think it's not bad, but like, I don't think it's as... Pelipper has more of an impact than the Nine. But, you know, Screen's Ninetales is strong. Same with, like, the Never Melt Ice set, the Encore sets, the Covert Cloak sets. You don't even have to play this Auroraville, you know, with the Ninetales too, right? So, it's interesting. Do I move this up? No, I think high B tier is correct. I think this is where we wanted it. It's strong, it's versatile, and I want to keep it there in the high B tier. I think it's good. Murkrow, yes, I think it's all right there. Same with this. Well, we moved it up there. Torkoal, same thing. The Armor Rouge can also still be okay. I'll drop it a tier actually. Yeah, I think lower B tier rather than higher B tier where it is right now is correct. I think if anything, the Executor show. Wait, did we forget the egg? Oh no, we put it in the niche tier. Yeah, one would matter. Can I put this one? No, I still think the Armor Rouge is better than the egg. Okay, but the egg is good. The egg is actually not bad at all. All right, after this, Palmont, I think we can drop. It's still like good, but again, outside of the Tatsugiri, Dondozo teams, you don't really see it, right? So I'm gonna drop it to the same level as Tatsugiri, right? Because that's really only where you see it. After that, Corviknight, I think is good. You can even also make the argument that you can put Corviknight into the A tier. Typhlosion stays. This one is a little bit more niche too. I think Organical is good, but I think it needs a little bit more exploration. I think it's better than C tier. I'm not gonna lie. I think low B tier is okay for Garganical. Like Sol Cure, Recover, Wide Guard, very strong. And it's annoying too. It's hard to break. Yes, I know there's like Sneasler and Rillaboom stuff, but you can play around that. Garganical is not paper. But yeah, Gengar, Hisuian Zorak, that's good. And same thing again. Here's the Hydreigon, here's the Fergat. Yeah, I think this is okay. Even Gallade here, as high as it is, it's still like strong on those Trick Room teams. Fighting coverage is great. But overall, yeah, I think this is good for our S tier and our A tier, and even like our high B tier. Like these are all like very standard common metamons that you see on a lot of different teams too. Like even the Sinistra is getting a little bit more play now. So maybe not. This was maybe a little bit too high back in September, but now I think it's okay. I think it's a very good mon, especially on those Arkeladon, Annihilate teams there. Gengar, I think, yeah, the Gengar we can drop. Gengar low B tier is okay. You know, Haze, Icy Wind, and you're fast too. So all the more reason to still be, you know, it's not as strong as it once was back in September, but you know, again, you still have Shadow Ball. You can still pin the Goldango slot. You have Haze. You have Icy Wind. Okay, this is good. And you still get the niche Trick Room idea, right? So, obviously, this would be like the Focus Sash set. But there's really like one good team with it. But outside of that, where are you going to see it? So, a little bit more niche. That's kind of why I also want to just leave it here in the low B tier. I think it's like okay. All right, so that's it for like the higher B tiers. Let's look at some of this other stuff. I think the Braviary is a little more niche. I think the low B tier was a little bit optimistic. Let's just drop it down here to niche tier. Yes, it's another defined Pokemon, but outside, you don't really see this thing that much. There's better options for sure. How about, yeah, the Arcanine, again, like we saw, it's getting a little bit more play now with that Whimsicott, Blood Moon, Ursaluna team. Okay, this is the main trio, so you can definitely build around those three for sure. And it's quite interesting because, it wasn't really used that much, in September, but then it started, and even October, but then it started picking up recently, right? This was that squad with the Ursaluna, and there's a couple more options here, but like start with these three. It's a good starting point there. But Intimidate support, rock coverage, extreme speed, Flare Blitz is strong, right, against a lot of these options. And it's just an aggressive, good Pokemon on the hyper offensive teams. I think Sylveon's a little bit more niche. We'll drop that down there. You don't really see it that much. Hatterene also pretty good on those Trick Room teams. So that can stay. Same with Excadrill. Tyranitar does not need Excadrill to do well, but Excadrill does need Tyranitar to do well. So hence the reason why this is higher than the other one, right? Gastrodon also pretty good. Same with Flamigo. You got to see a little bit more on it with the P2 Ursaluna balance teams. That thing was everywhere, a couple of regionals ago. Now it just gets like a spot top results here and there, but it's still like a good team. And Flamigo, good fighting coverage against the Gambit too. And then you have flying type pressure against Sneasler for that matter. You can't get intimidated. You can hit a ghost type. So can I move this up? I don't think this moves down for sure, but like, can I move this up is the question. I'm gonna keep it where it is for now. I think that like this is okay. All right, after this, all right, Chandelure is not bad either. I kind of want to keep it there, but this guy can come down into the C tier, the Overquill. Cerulege is actually pretty good. Actually, Cerulege should move up. I missed this one. But yeah, bulk up set, again, just looking at Flash Fire as a whole, really strong. You got bulk up and coaching idea, right? That was the main selling point with it. You got to see that from Mars, right? So here is Sneasler. This was it. This was bulk up, just like Annihilate. You still had Bitter Blade. You had Shadow Sneak. You had Protect. You had your Clear Amulet. Sometimes you could argue Life Orb, but the Sneasler can beef it up with coaching. So look at this, bulk up and coaching. So +2/+2, right? And that makes it hard to beat because now your Bitter Blades are hitting harder, which means you're getting more recovery. You can hit Goldengos very well, and you can start hitting Archeladons also very well at some point. And again, fire immunity is really good, and just overall, like it's nice to see Cerulege strong in a format. I think it's a little bit better than Armorage right now. I think high B tier is correct. All right, after that, Palafin I think stays. Serena we're gonna drop. I think Serena, just like Fergap, it's not really needed. I think Rillaboom is just a better grass type to use, even Amoonguss, right? There is some tools that it can get, but I don't think that's enough to merit a slot above the C tier. And this is our low B tier. We got to see Samurott there, like really good with the Assault Vest set, right? So the Hisuian Samurott, again, just imagine it, like with that AV set, now you add the coaching boost, the attack boost, and the defense boost. Okay, super bulky. Then you add sharpness to this. It starts hitting really hard, guys. Okay, and you're a dark type, so all that Indeedee terrain stuff, okay, you're not taking any expanding force damage because of that typing. You are weak to Sneasler, okay, with the CC, but again, with the coaching boost, you're not going to die to that. And if anything, you can kill the Sneasler right back because you hit harder, especially after one coaching boost, right? But you need the Sneasler, right? Hence, you need support to be like really good, so it stays right there. All right, after that, Meowscarada. I think it's also okay, especially on those hyper offensive teams. We got to see some strong results there. But is this also good? I think the Lycanroc is relatively niche. If anything, the Houndstone can get a little bit more play. So I'm gonna put them together, right? But this is our low B tier. Okay, yeah. All right, how about the C tier? Can we start dropping things into the don't use tier? I think all of these guys are usable. Like these guys have at least gotten a couple of results, over the past month or so. Even the fast Espeon expanding force stuff, like we got to see this too. Araquanid, the Decidueye are still okay. They're on spotty on some teams. The Scyther also still gets some results every now and then. I think we keep everything here. Okay, maybe not this guy. I was hopeful for him, but the Iron Defense Body Press is still not enough. Same with Staraptor. Yes, the final Gambit stuff with the Choice Scarf idea is okay, but again, I don't think it's that necessary. Same with Riolu here. You have a lot more better prankster Pokemon to use than this. Tell me, I understand you get coaching too, but that's not enough. We have better coaching options at the same time. Where else? Hitmontop, Kingdra also has gotten a little bit more play with the teams here. Okay, Politoed also stays. Again, niche tier for sure. Quaquaval, again, on those Arcalypd Rain teams. Good fighting type coverage. You get a Moxie boost, especially, when you pick up a KO. The Aquasep does a lot. The Shuriken user, right? What's that? What's it called? I keep calling it the Shuriken user because I always forget the name of it. Not Froakie. Let me do. It always escapes me. Water Dark. Yeah, here we go. Where is it? There it is. Greninja. How can I forget this thing? This thing is classic. All right, I still clicked Samurott, right? Okay, Greninja. So it gets Haze. You can do Water Shuriken with that loaded dice set. And you're a Dark type, right? So again, not bad into some of those size spam teams, and you're fast too, base 122 speed. So I think it stays exactly where it needs to stay. Everything else pretty niche. In some form, I guess you could use them in some ladder games, but is it really worth it? Maybe not. I don't know about Cinderace here. I think we can drop it. Same with Abomasnow. On Ninetales is just better. Bruxish, same thing. We don't really need that. The Berserkers, I've seen 5-3 teams in some regions with it. I understand it. You're trying to make your Goldango hit more, but is that really worth it to merit a slot? I'd rather have something else. This Ninetales, I don't think we need it. I think Torkoal is just better. Can you find a niche for it? Sure. Is it worth it? Maybe not. Breloom, not bad. Chestnut, yes. After that, I was kind of pushing my luck here with some of these guys, right? Cleaver, okay, you can set some terrain and break some sashes. Honestly, I'm looking at this I want to drop a lot of these into the don't use tier. Because C tier, at least you'll see a little bit, but outside of them, no. But let's see. What else can I look at here? Bramblegas, not too bad. I've that's still okay. The PZ, again, Porygon2 is just better. Yeah, no, there was that one tournament that it did well in, but outside of that, you never see it. Same thing with this Braviary. I think I want to also move this down here. I don't think you need this. I understand I've seen on some psychic terrain teams, but you don't even get the benefit for that. So I'm gonna move it down. Rapska, yes, you can see it. Yeah. Oh, this one we've definitely seen the Espathra stuff. That one was a crazy team. I remember it. Torterra, also pretty niche. Nah, this is more for ladder play. But other than that, oh yeah, this Goodra, man, I wish people would use this one more, man. This Goodra's much cooler than the other one, the regular one. It's still a decent Iron Defense Body Press user, but they're just too much Sneasler and other fighting types right now. It's not worth it. I think there's just better options here. I want to see people use this a little bit more. I'm hopeful for him. Okay, I want to drop him, but I'm hopeful for him. Okay, Stamina's still good. I think people should explore this one. I'm not gonna lie. Hypno can stay. It was that rare niche that it does get. After this, I think this is okay. Yeah, I'm quite satisfied here with what we have here with the niche tier. Let me just look at the D tier one last time, just to see if there's anything we missed that we can move up. There's nowhere else I can move down from here, right? I think after this, it's okay. But yeah, hopefully this kind of paints a picture for you guys, just where we are in the meta. So look at this, right? Now let's start making some conclusions for the rest of the team. The format, not the team. Okay, so right over here, this is like where most of your meta stuff is. Okay, so it's basically all about Sneasler balance, and it's all about Arkeladin Rain, right? So that's not a question of argument, right? Where does everything else lie? You still got strong dragons that are doing really well. You still got strong play from Dragonite, Garchomp, and a little bit of Dragapult too, okay? They're also pretty meta-defining in essence. You'll see a lot of teams with these. Of course, the Pelipper's for the Arkeladin stuff. Volcarona now is a player. You got to see this enter the top 6 since the last regional. P2 balance teams are also still strong. Now you're seeing Porygon on that Charizard Sun team for that matter. The Ursaluna teams with the P2 are also really good. Now even the Blood Moons are entering in play. And Indeedee Psychic Terrain, expanding force spam with the Tailwind user like Whimsicott or Talonflame. That's a thing. That's another archetype. And this is played a lot with Sneasler. So those are some of your key teams that you're seeing right now. After that, you know, the occasional Backscalloper teams and the Como teams. In fact, let me put that over here. Okay, and then Ninetales. This comes in as a good support option for a lot of the Sneasler balance teams and a lot of the double Dragon Cores. You're seeing a lot more Ninetales, whether it be screens support or just a weather changer that can do a lot of damage. Okay, Magmar and Electabuzz are really good with Rillaboom and Gambit. Okay, very good support options. Some of the best. The fact that you can't fall asleep with Vital Spirit is important. Okay, and they're bulky. They can give you speed control with Electro Web. They can burn you with Will-O-Wisp. They get Taunt. Okay, lots of good use out of these guys. Vivian, same thing. You get to play this with Garchomp and the Ursaluna P2 balance teams. Whether you have Tailwind or not, Sleep Powder and Hurricane are very strong along with Rage Powder. The Clefable stuff, you know, I can't believe we're living in a format where Clefable's getting more usage than Clefairy, but again, Unaware is really good. That is also why Dondozo, Solo Dozo, is being played more than like Dondozo and Tatsugiri, because you're getting good value out of Unaware with Dondozo. And Yawn is just annoying, okay? And, you know, that's also why Gastrodon, I think, is a little bit better than the C-tier niche option. I think Gastrodon's also really nice on some teams. I'm high on it. And after this, you've got the Eruption stuff from Typhlosion. Corviknight now is also really good. Like, sometimes these teams have a hard time breaking Corviknight, especially when you can get bulk up sets going with Sneasler coaching ideas. Okay, Corviknight really good. Roost Recovery is something that it makes it hard to break. Okay, and for that reason, I think it's still a strong threat. More Murkrow's being played now, and it's catching up to these Whimsicott Tailwind teams. Haze is strong, Weather Control is strong, Foul Play is strong. Okay, and then after this, you'll see some Sinistcha play on some of these balance teams, as well as the Arkeladin and Annihilate teams. Rage Powder, Healing, and Trick Room are very good tools with it, and you're a Ghost type, so you get to whiff Fighting type attacks into you, so I like that too. Then you get down here, okay, so almost relatively niche options here, but again, Flamigo makes a big difference on some of those Porygon 2 teams. Mimikyu for a while looks really good. Now you're seeing these Charizard, Jumpluff, Torkoal teams, right? So this is entering into play a little bit. And this is where Dondozo, Tatsugiri lie. I think low B tier is correct with what they're doing right now. Then you get the occasional Gengar, Glamora stuff, right? Where they put pressure on those Tailwind teams, and then as well as Haze and Icy Wind stuff, right? Then you get into all these C tier mons where you'll see every now and then on like ladder play a little bit. But for the most part, you know, your best C tier options look like the Egg on those Trick Room teams, the Drifblim on the Psychic Terrain stuff, the occasional, what's this thing called? Kilowattrels, but next to Garchomp. This is another good weather setter, the Illumise stuff. And then some people play Weezing. Not a whole lot of people play Weezing, right? It just depends on them. And that's really where we are. So hopefully something like this paints a picture of where we are in Regulation H, right? And if you need some help team building for your next local or your future regionals coming up, again, coaching is still available on on the channel. So make sure you sign up. Tier 3 sub gets you a one-on-one session with me. If you look in the video description below, as well as in the pinned comment section, there is a link to join the channel with that Tier 3 sub. And then you can join the Discord. Technically, you can join the Discord right now. That's free. And then once you do, or even if you don't, you can still message me on Discord. And then we can plan out our session and get you the team that you need for your local, for your upcoming regional. Maybe it's just something that you want to play for ladder, or if you're just trying to learn the game of competitive VGC in general, we got you covered on the channel. So sign up. But yeah, that's it. Hopefully, we hit some good ideas here in the updated tier list. And feel free to argue in the comments below, because that's usually what happens when you make a tier list. All right, you can't make everybody happy, and that's okay, right? Because at the end of the day, good banter is still like constructive banter. All right, so that's it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out, and have a good one.